Hey peeps, welcome back to the Growth Lab podcast. I'm your host Matt Harris and I run the Growth Lab, a lead generation consultancy for commercial cleaning businesses. In today's episode, I chat with Stephen Yates, founder and managing director of IT Cleaning, one of the first specialist data center cleaning companies in the UK. Stephen launched IT Cleaning over 20 years ago after stumbling into the niche by accident. While researching for his master's degree in marketing, Stephen sent questionnaires to IT managers about telephone cleaning. In return, they asked whether he was able to clean data centers, and IT Cleaning was born with a contact list of 60 potential clients. Since being launched, IT Cleaning has been at the forefront of cleaning data centers, server rooms, comms rooms, and broadcast equipment. We talk about why Stephen had to switch the subject of a dissertation before he was able to launch IT Cleaning, how the biggest challenge to starting was getting insurance for a new type of cleaning, the simple approach he takes to retaining staff, the science of dust. Now, a little heads up, Stephen gets quite technical halfway through this episode, which just goes to show his passion and understanding for this particular niche, and the most effective lead generation strategy that he uses for finding new clients. And for more tips on lead generation and insights on the most successful strategies, tools, and tactics to help grow your cleaning business, sign up for the Growth Lab newsletter via the link in the episode description. You ready? Let's dive in. Hi guys, so we are here with Stephen Yates from IT Cleaning. Stephen, so we've just had a little bit of a chat before we went on air. I'm quite curious to find out more about your business because you focus on data centers. So can you tell me how the idea of starting the business came about and why you focused on this particular niche?
Back in 2001, I was doing a master's degree in marketing and I had to do a dissertation. So I was working in the cleaning industry, so I was searching for some niche markets to do a dissertation on, because you should only sweep a small corner when you do a dissertation, and cleaning is massive. The turnover of UK cleaning, which you know is huge.
Yeah.
So I was looking for some niche markets, and I sent out some questionnaires. One of them was about cleaning, and lots of people came back saying, well, yeah, but can you clean data centers? Because the questionnaires was asking about computer cleaning on desks, because I stumbled upon computer cleaning.
Okay.
There was a company called Phonetas at the time, which was an initial company that was going around cleaning PCs and phones on desks and making a fair bit of money doing it. There were lots of research going on that lots of viruses were being passed on by people sharing phones and PC keyboards and things like that. So I contacted the wrong group of people within organizations. I contacted the IT managers, and they don't have anything to do with PCs on desks. Their actual interest in the IT finishes at the box the PC plugs into. So loads of them said, can you clean a comms room? Can you clean a server room? And I said, well, what are they? So one guy bravely said, come along and have a look. So I went along and had a look at his in-house server room. And I thought, well, how hard can this be? Went away and did some research, found out about HEPA filtered vacuums, all sorts of things, and there was already a few people doing it in America. So I spoke to Data Clean, which were the biggest in America. I spoke to their director. He's been very helpful. I'm still friends with him now, Dean Saracades, and the company was born from there. I sold my house and invested the money and started left the business I was in, resigned, sold my house, got divorced, but that was an aside, that was happening anyway, and then started the company, and it went from there, from strength to strength.
Oh, wow. So like how long was the preparation? So you were doing your dissertation, so was it quite a long research process?
The research process, so I had to stop the dissertation that I was doing and start another one, because I read some small print on the university that I was using that said that if I started a business off the back of the dissertation, they were entitled to 10% of the shares of the business. So I thought, I'm not doing that. So I started a new dissertation, ditched that one, and did one on cognitive resonance, which is when you buy something and you're not happy with it because you've been oversold it. So I did that within the cleaning industry, how much cognitive resonance there was within the cleaning industry, and there was an awful lot of it, because everybody says they'll clean to be perfect, and it's not easy
invariably
to clean.
It's not.
no requirement because your clean is not my clean, and so on.
Yeah.
So I did that dissertation, and then I went back to the old one and carried on with the research, and then formed the company. Luckily, IT cleaning was available, so was the domain address and loads of other things. Set it up, and then just went basically touting it around to people in businesses, calling IT managers up and people like that, and quite a few of them, because they were already on my list, because I had 60 people come back to me when I sent a list out saying, yeah, would be interested.
Yeah.
And quite a few of them took us up on it. The hardest thing to get was insurance, because everybody said, oh, we can't insure you for that. No, none of the normal cleaning company insurance people would touch it with a barge pole. So I had to pay £1,000 for an assessor to come out from a Lloyd's-based company.
Yeah.
To just watch us clean for the day before they would put us on risk. And it's still very, very expensive, the insurance.
Yeah, I can imagine, because you're dealing with some pretty valuable items, right? So I can imagine that the insurance is challenging.
There's the items themselves. So you've got one rack of equipment can be in excess of £1 million, depending what's in it. And we might be cleaning that rack. So the chances are of us actually destroying the whole rack is pretty low, but it could still run into 200,000, just the damage to a fan system, for instance.
Yeah.
By the time it gets shipped from where it's got to come from, put in and redone and all booted back up. But the consequential loss is really high as well. So if you knock a server off, one server gets switched off, there could be 7 virtual servers attached to that. And then a whole chain of stores or something like that could go down.
Yeah.
So the tills stop working in Tesco's, for instance. If that's been caused by somebody cleaning and they've shut down a server that's now turned half the Tesco's store's tills off, they've literally got to let you leave the store with what you've got.
Oh, wow.
Because the contract isn't about paying for it. There's nothing in the law or contract that says you have to pay for it. You just have to have 4 things in place and contract is fixed. So if your stuff's on the conveyor belt, the till goes down, it's yours. They can't force you to leave it there. Yes.
I did not know that.
Or if it's if it's in your basket and you're waiting to pay for it, sorry, it's yours, not theirs anymore. So you could walk out the store. So generally they wouldn't be very happy.
Yeah.
You could imagine somebody like Amazon losing their website even for a minute. The loss of cash revenue would be
phenomenal. Yeah, for sure.
So consequential damage is quite high as well, at the risk for consequential damage. So you could be working on a very important drawing for somebody and you've got it on auto backup, but in between the auto backup, you've just done something and you've put it down and you thought, I'll go back and check that, but I think that's a great idea. And then suddenly there's a glitch and it goes down and it's proved that the cleaner did that. Then, you could be put back months just because you've just lost all your data.
Yeah.
So there is an awful lot of risk involved. So everything has to be done very safely.
Okay.
And very carefully.
So I've got a couple of questions that sort of stem from that. When you started, did you build a team straight away? Did you do this cleaning yourself? How was that? How did you start?
Yeah, I obviously did the cleaning myself, and I still do quite a fair bit of the cleaning myself and lead the teams, because especially with new customers, because I'm the one that's done the selling and I'm the expert and they expect me to be there.
Sure.
But I don't go all the time. It's just for the first clean usually. So how I started was I'm ex-military, so I needed people with that type of mind, people that, right, so you can see some dust on a wall up there, but you can't quite reach it. I don't want people that walk away and say, I can't reach that. I want people to go, now, how can I reach that?
Yeah.
What do I need to reach that dust? Do I need another tube on my vacuum? Oh, yeah, that'll get me up there. So I'll go and find another tube for my vacuum. So that's the type of people I was looking for. So I formed teams from people like that.
Okay.
And I found quite a few casual labour in students. There are lots of students out there, very clever people doing degrees, and they think like that as well. They're problem solvers. They're not people that think, I can't do that, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So I had a good team of weekend workers in students from various universities around the area.
Nice. Is that a tactic you still employ? Is that a tactic you still employ now? Because I guess it's a big challenge, isn't it, finding new staff for your cleaning company?
Yeah, at the moment it's a big challenge, but I find most of my guys stay with me a long time. I mean, I've got one now that's coming up 7 years, another one that's coming up 5 years. They stay a long time. They don't just, like most cleaning companies, get bored and leave, because we travel the country. We don't just work in Reading.
Yeah.
We don't just work in London. We're all over the place. So today they're doing some cleaning. They're doing some cleaning in London all this week, and next week we're in Coventry. So they get to see lots of different places. Yeah, so they quite enjoy that. And we stay away a lot too. We stay in hotels.
Okay, nice. Away days,
which they like.
Like, what's your secret to staff retention then? How have you managed to keep some of your members for 7 years and for that length of time? Because
you keep them by being extremely fair to them, paying them well. So, for instance, last week we had a postponement on one of the days, so they all had a day off. They got paid for it. They all had a day off, and they only did 4 days' work. So those types of things are what I do. And then in a couple of weeks' time, we're working seven days, so they'll get paid for the Saturday and Sunday. They'll get paid double time on the Sunday, actually, even though they only worked 4 days the other week because we had a cancellation. It's not their fault that we had a cancellation.
Yeah.
So I deal with it that way. Okay. And also, as I say, be very fair to them. So things like if I owe them holiday pay, which I will do very shortly, pay it in the Christmas payroll, because we start our holiday in January. So say they've only used 15 days of their 20 days. Well, I owe them 5 days then, so I pay them the 5 days just before Christmas. So
nice.
They like things like that.
Yeah, for sure. and you mentioned obviously it's quite technical, the sort of cleaning that you do, and there's certain steps to follow. Yeah. Does that mean you've got quite robust sort of in-house processes, standard operating procedures, that sort of stuff, and training for your staff?
Yeah, so we have very strict standard operating procedures and protocols in how to do things, which they all get trained in. They also have a job management booklet with them that gives them it's like an aid memoir. So they get a briefing prior to each job, but also like you would if you were given an orders group as a military person, you would expect them all to take notes of what their tasks were and know it, but you would then also hand them out an aid memoir to say this is what your role is in this.
Yeah.
So these guys, they know what their roles are and what they're doing. So the team leader will designate who's doing what task. Now, he knows, because he's worked with these guys closely for quite some time, who prefers working off a step ladder and who doesn't really like working off a step ladder. So he doesn't put the guy that doesn't like working off the step ladder up the step ladder. So there'll be a guy working on a step ladder cleaning the copper cabs, and another guy coming along behind him cleaning the doors of the cabinets and things like that to get the job done as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
So the teams all know what they're doing. They know how to do it. The method statements of risk assessments are really quite strict. And the team leader knows that if he has to move away from the method statement, he has to do a number of things, and that involves the client. So, for instance, if something different in a room has happened since we last saw it, he has to go and get the client and say, look, to clean this, I'm going to have to move this cabinet this far forward. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And if he says, yes, you can move it, on a big enough cable for you to move it, that's fine. If he says, no, you can't, well, that area becomes non-accessible and can't be cleaned.
Okay.
That's how it works. They have to make that decision. I don't get phone calls during the day to say, can we do this, Steve? Can we do that, Steve? Because if I got that, they wouldn't be working for me very long.
Yeah,
because
sure.
You haven't got time to phone everybody just to get a decision.
Yeah.
So they have to make that decision themselves.
And I guess you've sort of empowered them by giving them the aid memoir to a certain degree as well, right? To say, look, if this, then that.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes your life a little bit easier.
And also the other thing is, again, this is from my military training, provided you do everything for the right reasons and you've followed as closely as you can the processes, I'll back you to the hill because it's not your fault if it goes wrong.
Sure.
But if you haven't, then I'll hang you out to the wolves, and you'll be in trouble.
Woe betide anyone that does.
So they do keep to the rules quite strictly, and they know to say if somebody asks them to do something that's silly, we do sometimes get to say no, that can't be done. That's impossible. If we do that, this could happen, and we can't do that unless you're willing to take the risk. And then people usually start thinking, oh, right, well, we better not ask them to do that then. And that's how we go over things like that as well.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so that's the way it works.
Do you provide sort of continuous training as well? Are there new methods that are introduced quite regularly in terms of data centers?
What is continuous training. Well, the thing is cleaning of a data center. So the specification is quite simple but strict. So it's ISO 14644 Class 8. It's a clean room specification. We spread from Class 1, which is the best you could ever get, but we're never going to get Class 1 because that's for making satellites and things like that. So there's no dust in the room at all. Class 8 is, in a clean room parlance, would be where you would get changed to go into a better class clean room. So I was instrumental in enabling the ISO to be used in data centers by touting it and saying, look, this can be used because these are controlled environments, so we can use this specification. That gives you something to hang your hat on. So with that specification, you have to worry about two things. Firstly, airborne dust. So we're talking particulate dust at 0.5 micron. So that's moving around in the room all the time. The least force in physics that will act upon a particle at that size is gravity, because gravity needs mass. So mass times 9.89 meters per second. But if you weigh nothing, gravity has very little effect on you. So you're floating around in the air, not landing, not going anywhere. What you're going to end up doing is getting attracted to something like that light behind you that's putting off an electromagnetic field around it. Or Thales force, which is every surface is giving off an electromagnetic field. Static electricity, something like that's going to grab that piece of dust. So now we're looking at settled dust, or dust that's actually stuck to a surface. So if you look at a vertical surface in a dusty environment, you will see very fine dust. The easiest way to do it is when you get in your car tonight, if you have a car, look at the glass, and if you see what looks like smoke on the glass, that's not smoke. Wipe it with something, it will come off black. It's dust. Dust created from your vehicle, probably from your brakes, getting into the vehicle. And then it's very small, it's 0.3 micron and lower. It sits on that glass because the force on the glass, the electromagnetic force known as Van der Waals force, is holding it onto the glass. You can't even vacuum it off. You would have to get something to break that force, so you'd have to wipe that off. So those are the two dusts we're looking for, airborne and settled. To test the airborne, at the end of the clean, I have a machine. It's a £10,000 piece of machine that takes in a known sample of air, counts the particles across a laser from 0.51 and 5 micron. Now, bearing in mind, 1,000 microns a millimeter, they're very small. So it's counting them, and then it extrapolates that to what that would be if that was a cubic meter of air it just sampled. And I have a graph that says I'm allowed this much in a cubic meter of air of all those particles in this room. If it's that much, it's failed. If it's below that much, it's passed. So that's the airborne dust. The settled dust is just the glove test. So you go along, wipe a surface, wipe it against your shirt. If dust comes on your shirt, then it's failed. So those are the two parts of the specification. To get the airborne dust out of the air, we stand there with a vacuum for hours on end. We have a huge piece of equipment, or 3, 4, 5, depending on how many you need in a room, which basically filter the air. They bring the air in at the front and filter it to 0.3 micron and blow it out the back. 0.3 is better than we require. So we get the dust out of the air. That's why air movement is extremely important, because I need the greatest force in the data hall to be air movement, nothing else. I don't want it to be static. I don't want it to be any of the electromagnetic forces. I need it to be air movement. So all the dust ends up in the air so I can get it out of the air. And then all the dust, we just vacuum it off.
So this is
any dust that we make air. Any dust that we then make airborne is caught by the air scrubber.
So this is
the process in a nutshell.
Very, very technical. So going back to when you started, like, what was your biggest challenge in growing the business? Was it learning about the technical aspect, like you said? You've already mentioned the insurance aspect, which was, there wasn't a standard insurance IT cleaning. Clearly there was a demand, which you got feedback from the survey that you carried out in the first instance. So what was the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome as you started?
Well, the biggest hurdle is getting people to know about it, because most people that own I suspect there's a comms room in the building you're sat in now. So most people own some sort of IT equipment. Some people, they know they've got it there. They don't know that there are people out there that can clean it for them, so it doesn't get cleaned. And then the only time it gets cleaned is when they have a problem, and somebody from IBM, Cisco, or whoever come along and says, I've just taken your server apart. That's the reason it stopped. Look how dusty it is. You need to get the room cleaned. And then it starts to tumble down. So that's the biggest thing, is getting people to know about it. Hence the reason the data center manager's course and things like that nowadays has a cleaning module.
Okay.
Because people need to know that you can get somebody to come and do the cleaning for you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a data center manager, you don't really want to be doing deep cleaning yourself. Day-to-day cleaning, that's a matter of cleaning up after yourselves. Totally different thing. But to get an ISO certificate, because we issue a certificate after our clean,
Sure.
which is valid for a year. So some people even put it in a frame on the wall as you walk into the data center and point to it to say, look, we get this room clean, we get this data hall cleaned.
Yeah.
So be careful you don't make dirty.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So that is the biggest one, is getting people to know that the service is available, and that has been for 20 years, and it still is. It's getting better because more people are finding it now.
Yeah. And so
there's a breed.
Go on.
Yeah, there's a bigger breed of younger people coming into the IT world, have done the course or know that there's data center cleaning available, and get on the phone and go, all right, I need you to come and have a look at the data room.
Yeah.
But
so tides are starting to turn, which is good.
Yeah, cold calling tends not to work, so it's more about website, social medias, like that, and word of mouth. Cold calling is extremely difficult. Even within the own organisation, you speak to somebody who looks after your comms room, and everybody goes, "Oh, I don't know. Have we got comms room?" Things like that. So you'd be surprised how many people have no idea that they've got one in their building. In some high-rise buildings in London, there's one on every floor, for instance, but nobody knows. They're like, oh, I don't know who looks after that.
Oh, wow.
They've never seen the room open. Yeah.
So what has been the most effective form of marketing for you? Because I know obviously you're on LinkedIn. Do you use that quite a bit to get in contact with the people you need to?
I've started using LinkedIn a lot more now.
Yeah.
So we're getting quite a few through that. The website is still the most effective. So if you were to put data center cleaning into Google, for instance, then we tend to be at the top of Google, Yahoo, and a number of other search engines. Guessing the search for server room, things like that. People, there are so many different names for these rooms.
Yeah,
some of them are really old. They go back into the 60s when we had mainframes, and the initials. And people, you say, so your MF something room. Do you know what that means? No idea. It means mainframe, So, but the people that named it have long gone from the organisation.
Yeah,
and nobody's ever changed the name.
Oh, wow.
So you do have to be a bit clever and think about what they might be calling it.
So let me ask you this: if you had a marketing budget which was unlimited, what would you focus on in terms of winning these bigger clients? And I know before we came on air, you sort of said you've been avoiding the biggest clients, but you're starting to move into that. Where would your advertising or marketing spend go?
Well, the main area, the website's in place now, so I would start looking at more use of LinkedIn to contact these people. The data center managers are the people that I really need to get into contact with more than the business owners, for instance. They're, to me, unless the business owner is the data center manager, and I don't want to sound smug, there are a few of them out there, definitely, but mostly not. Mostly the business owners are in America, Hong Kong, places like that. So they're not the people I need to speak to. I speak to the person that day-to-day runs that data center and needs to have that certificate for his client base. So colo data centers, co-location data center, that means they have a lot of customers in there. So the racks don't actually belong to them. One row might belong to somebody, one row might belong to somebody else.
Okay.
And it's run in their organizations. So, or one room or one partitioned room might be a whole customer. I don't even know who they are. We go in and we just clean what's in front of us. I don't know that might belong to one of the big high street stores like Marks and Spencer's, for instance. I have no idea who that room belongs to. It doesn't say on it. So the colo data centers are the ones that I'd need to get more into, really. We do a few, but not as many as I would like to. But
So
I think that would be getting hold of the data center managers.
And that will be the sweet spot, is it?
To be honest, this is why I've stayed away from them, because I tend to make more money cleaning for that comms room that's in your building than I would clean. More money in profit, bottom line profit, cleaning that comms room in your thing, where I can just send 2 men to clean it. Whereas if I've got to send 10 men to clean a whole data center and it could last a month, the return may not be anywhere near as good as it is by doing your one clean, your one little room that I do on, takes me a day. So that's why I've sort of stayed away from them. Yeah, but it's all, if you had a lot of these bigger guys, you could make loads of money. But likewise, because you would cut your transport costs down by not having to travel so far,
and just having like hubs up and down the country, I guess, right? Where you could just send people out.
So you've got London hub, which would include Slough and places like that. Then Birmingham, there's loads around Birmingham, so just send people out from there if you have all these bigger companies in these hyperscale data centers and things like that they're starting to build nowadays. 8 megawatt data hall and things like that. 10 of them in a data center. You'd be there for a couple of months.
Yeah, you'd be laughing.
Just cleaning.
Easy.
Yeah. So that's the sort of thing, yeah.
Well, look, Stephen, we're going to wrap it up very shortly. Let me go into the quickfire question section. So, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself just starting out with your IT cleaning business?
Lend your money to the company. Don't put your money in and spend it. Lend the money to the company as a director's loan, because then you can have it back any time. So that's one mistake.
And what's one golden rule from your perspective of running a successful cleaning business?
Be very, very honest and upfront with your customers. Tell them if something can't be done, it can't be done, and stick to your guns. Even if somebody else is saying it can be done, say, well, let them do it then, because it can't be done. People totally respect that.
Last one. What's one question you wish I'd asked, and how would you have answered it? That stumped you a little bit.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. What would I wished you'd have asked? Because
I know there's a bunch of technical stuff that you've.
Yeah. So the technical stuff I can talk about all day. I can go into that. When I left the army, I went into technical sales. I sold concrete and things like that. And people look at you, technical? Of course, concrete's technical. It's the most technical building material there is. So complex silicas and things like that become hard and hold the building up. It's complex. So the technical side of the business is really easy for me. More that I would have looked at would be, I've got a master's degree in marketing, so that's not too bad either. But more, it's to get a handle on how to sell to these people that to them, it's totally their business, and their business is data and looking after it. And you've got millions of pounds worth of equipment. They've got to trust you. So you've got to be able to quickly suss out what the type of person you're dealing with is to trust you. But I don't know what question I would have liked you to ask, because you've asked some quite good questions, to be honest.
Good. So as we wrap up, Stephen, where's the best place for people to find you online?
It's at a website, which is itcleaning.co.uk.
And to connect with you, is it LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Stephen Yates, or IT Cleaning will get you to us, and then click through up to the website in various places, or they can send me a message. And there's plenty of ways of getting hold of me. My telephone number's available in all sorts of places.
Perfect. Nice one,
Feel
Stephen.
free to call. Okay.
Awesome. Well, look, thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, brilliant.
Thanks to Stephen for joining us on the Growth Lab podcast, and thanks to you guys for listening. You can access the show notes and resources via the link in the episode description. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others who you think will find it useful across social media, or leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you listen to. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @IAM_Matt Harris to catch all the latest from the Growth Lab and how to generate more contract opportunities for your cleaning business. See you next time. And remember, if your cleaning business isn't growing, it's dying.